the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
I got Winnie Bucks!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad to be home. This is Stern Appetit, your host, Kip Wilson. I am on the casting couch. Oh, Bessie, the orange Bess, our orange couch right here. And CB on my left on the couch, on the casting couch. Sorry, I'm fired up. How are you, CB?
I mean, it's like a family reunion.
I know.
It feels like we've been gone apart from each other for over a year.
I know. And Eve is back in studio with us too, and I missed her so much too.
She seems happier than ever.
She came in with this like vigor and zest, like she hadn't seen us in a little while, and she was like, let's kick ass today on this podcast and let's eat some cake. And now we're out of cake, so it's time to do the podcast. Eve, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah!
Stupendous.
Are you even better because you just got to see us after a long absence?
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
See, I love how it kind of you can feel it in her
Right.
voice that she's like, "Fuck yeah, we're back. We're so back." And I mean, we're right here on the cusp of March Madness. We've got a great episode. We'll do a quick Portugal recap because I know we did the beginning episode. Chris and I tried to record one, and I did not record it well. And then Eve waited up for me one day to record one, and it was the night I got food poisoning. So both of those episodes are on your boy. I'm now batting 1 for 9 when going abroad and trying to record this goddamn podcast. But what that means is the absence grows the heart fonder or something of that nature.
Yeah. And in your absence, I didn't get in trouble handling any social media or anything.
Yeah, I'm glad I did this trip in February so that you did not have any obligations during our big month of March Madness. And you all right. You killed it with your Michelin Monday review. Proud of you. Good job. Good job. And you didn't get hurt while traveling. I'm proud.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got a great episode. We're going to do a Portugal recap, talk about the food poisoning incident, running into a castle with a car incident, as well as some of our favorite parts and favorite bites. That'll be 10-ish minutes. And then we're going to do high-speed rail systems versus airports. Then we're going to talk about all things Denver. Drama unfolded while I was gone. I was talking to Molly Martin from the Denver Westward, your boss, although shout out to Thomas Mitchell, the new editor over there, former off the Cannabis Beat. But we were talking and joking. I was like, shit, is there any restaurants for us to come back for March Madness? Sure enough, there's a ton of them, but there was a lot of closings while I was gone. And some drama and some words were said about it. By a few owners. We'll talk about that, and then we'll tease some of the restaurants that are opening and the ones that we're most excited to check out, and then March Madness, and we're getting out of here. You ready?
Ready.
All right, well, let's start off with a quick ad read from our friends over at Seed Money Consulting. Y'all saw us post about them on social media. We've talked about them ad nauseum, and we're going to continue to do so throughout tax season. From now until April 15th, your first call when thinking about your taxes does not need to be to an H&R Block office. You do not need to sign back up for a TurboTax account. You need to reach out to our friends at Seed Money Consulting. If you're a small business owner, if you started or stopped a business in the last year, maybe you're a 1099 contractor such as myself, they're here to help. They're here to make sure that you have the best options available to you when it comes to preparing your taxes. Do not leave money on the table this tax season. Reach out to our friends at Seed Money Consulting. It doesn't stop at tax services either. They have an a la carte service. They have a CFO in a box. If you're looking for financial advice or someone to handle all of the business aspects, reach out to them. Our friends Shahab, Sam, the whole team over there are great folks, and they'll get with you, get you squared away before April 15th. And no matter what your situation may be, if you need to file an extension, they're there to assist. If you have some hiccups from your past couple of years, they can help clean up the muddied waters. That's Seed Money Consulting, based out of the Greenwood Village, Colorado. We thoroughly recommend them, and we can't tell them how much we appreciate their support during tax season. All right. let's dive into it. So we last spoke after my quick gauntlet through Lisbon. After that, I went along the southern coast of Portugal, which is very tourist heavy. Chris, it's a bunch of your people that eat beans for breakfast, a bunch of fucking British fucks who care about soccer more than real sports, things like that. The Algarve region is what it's called, and parts of it, what?
Oh,
The Algarve.
Oh.
It's like a region of a bunch of different small little towns. So Faro is like the big airported area, but Albufeira is where all these tourists go. And it is like white trashville. Even in the low season, it's just like tank tops, Irish pubs, people eating shitty fucking breakfast, drinking Guinness. And it's gross, but there are gorgeous towns on the outskirts of those.
okay, but also let's address that disparaging remark against football over there, because didn't you witness like a big game?
Yeah.
Or you didn't go to it, but
no.
you saw. Yeah, come on.
Against the British. So everything over there, like some of the country looks to the north in terms of cultural, and because they have such a deeply entrenched history. But at the same time, as an American, we love to bust balls about the Brits. But that is quite literally the tourist areas along the Algarve coast. You'll see a lot of photogenic videos of like those rocks that remind you of like the Count of Monte Cristo. I'm looking at Eve on that one. She remembers Alexander Dumas. Nailed that, didn't I, Eve? I went to a bookstore. We'll talk about it. But so there's a little community that all the people from Northern Europe vacation down there. So the food is tailored to them.
Yeah.
Shit like that. But outside of that, there are fun little small surf towns and local towns. And I found that's where the best food was and the people that were the most genuine. Obviously, we mentioned we were over there to kind of see what the vibe would be like if things were to change in legislation in the coming years, and maybe you were able to open up like a fun little concept over there. And so we were just scouting it out. We got to meet a lot of locals. We talked with people. We got restaurant recommendations, and we did a little bit of off the beaten path and on the beaten path. We stayed in a bunch of boutique, small, like one-off hotels, and then this one night on the coast of Spain and Portugal, we stayed at this just nicer-ish hotel, just a random fucking hotel, but it was just like one of many. Ate in the hotel restaurant just to size it up, see if it was any good. Oh, I lost 15 pounds that night. It woke me up in the dead of night. First off, I fell asleep on Eve. I'm sorry, Eve. I just want to say I'm sorry. I apologize. I cannot emphatically tell you how I did not mean to stand you up, and I'm sorry
It's
about
okay.
that.
I gave you like 30 minutes, and then I was like, and my phone's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
I just
okay.
want to say I'm so sorry about that. I'll be better on the next time.
I mean,
I figured you
food-
were sleeping. Honestly, I just figured you passed out.
Well, food poisoning, like that kind of little infection can drop you down.
oh,
like
I'm sure. No, if you were even
it
feeling
was
sick
both
from it, I wouldn't have
sides,
done it.
and I don't want to be graphic, but it was all night, all the next day. But because of our itinerary of trying to hit these towns and meet with people and eat at specific restaurants, that kind of like doing a slight Michelin guided Bourdainish tour of like beating to the Main Street drum and then dipping off and, grabbing a quick smoke and some fresh fish. And that's where the best food was. And then this one goddamn time, I stayed in a nice hotel. We ate at the hotel restaurant early. I was dying.
It was just you that got sick?
I was the only one.
So what do you think it was that you ate?
A red curry tiger prawn.
See, I feel like most of the time when you get food poisoning, it's not necessarily like, it's usually maybe the person who fixed the food didn't wash their hands properly, or there's like
okay.
cross-contamination.
Not usually the
I
food
feel like
itself.
that's what happens most of the time.
And I mean, it could have very well happened to me as well. I'm not here. And the water over there is very potable. Thank you, Eve. And so it's not like it's of concern. Like you could
Yeah.
technically drink out of the tap water, while it is awfully European that they use all those big jugs at all the restaurants and things of that nature. It is fine to drink it. I don't know what happened, but I can tell you it was the worst 18 hours of my life. And then when you have to get in the car the next day because you have to be in another town 3 hours north, the person I was in the car with on this part of the venture pulled over to literally get a Burger King. He was like, maybe something like American or light would help. Like, do you want a
You
French
can't
fry?
even eat anything.
Oh, I had to get out of the car while he
Nausea.
ate. And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go just sit in the bathroom in case because I can't. And then I walk in the restaurant. And I was like, oh my god,
The smells ruined you.
I mean, and it was at the mass restaurant. Like the best food I ate was restaurants that were one-offs where you like, they come out with a spread of food and they're like, pick what you want us to grill for you, and we bring it out, and it was wonderful. And the food is priced friendly as fuck, except for this one hotel restaurant.
Out of all the food you consumed, give me your favorite dish. If you could pick only one.
Man, it's a toss up between two. So a restaurant in Lisbon that was like a marisca, whatever, a seafood spot. That was just like this huge fucking crab where its head was pretty much like a bowl of pate of just like butter and its goody inside. So it was like really rich. And you just put it on like fresh bread that's already been soaked with butter and salt. And then you crack open this claw that's the size of my fucking hand. And I put it like in front of my face. I was like, good golly, it was unreal. And then that same meal also had like tiger prawns and like a big dish that they have over there is just basic shrimp fried and like with fried garlic and chili oil, and you just sit there and eat that with bread. And that was like a staple with every meal. So shrimp was like the main go-to. Oysters were actually expensive, like €2 or €3 per oyster. You could get like 8 for like $8 sometimes, like in the one-off spots.
Yeah.
But it's not an oyster scene per se. It's a big prawn scene, a big cod scene. And they can fuck around with, squid and octopus everywhere, octopus primarily. It's wonderful. The seafood is exceptional. And then the other dish is a bafana, which is like a sandwich of like just pork, slow stewed in a big sauce, and you stir all day like all the meats of a leg. And there's this place out of Porto that has been doing it for like 40 years, but they were kind of just a family-owned restaurant. And then one year they went to like a jazz fest type event in Portugal, Chris. 2 brothers, one shop, just serving up these little Sammys on fresh, like kind of like a ciabatta bun almost.
Yep.
So it's got porous where it soaks in the juices.
Yep.
The meat is like super tender, like a pulled pork almost, like a little bit thicker, but not too much different. At least at this location. And they had a line so long of people that wanted this, and they've become since popular year after year for attending this thing and having the most badass sandwich.
Branched out?
Yeah, that people were like, they called a stage because the line went all the way back to the stage of the music. And it's just 2 brothers over there cooking up pork legs in like this stew and then throwing it on a sandwich and serving it to you for like €3 fucking. Everything is so cheap. It is so unbelievably cost friendly to go over there. And during the low season, the average hotel cost about $80 a night, maybe $75. It was.
It's a steal.
And then if you spend $25 on food, whether it's between a sandwich or a baguette and some fresh fish, you can get out of there for spending $700 for being there for 7 days.
So rank the bread program there. What are
Okay,
we
so
thinking?
this is interesting. So we ate at a few different Michelin star or Michelin place, guide, bib, all of them. The higher end ones, most of them did, the higher end restaurants have their own bread program. But some of these one-off restaurants that are maybe focused more so on everything else, like seafood, or they're just like a one-stop shop, they outsource it. Some
Right.
of them are so bad it's like just like King Super sliced bread and like cold butter that comes in a little tin. But like the ones that you sit down that are a little bit more expensive, like 30 or 40 euro per dining experience, those have quality bread programs and butter that's just so goddamn salty. You have no business like eating the full little cylinder or ramekin of it. It's fucking wonderful.
So what's the breakfast? This is you in the hot seat right now. What's the breakfast situation like over there? Are we big pastry people? Are we light coffee?
The pastel de nata is the national dish, and it's a puff pastry, kind of like it's almost got like the layers of like a thin like dough, like just multiple layers, and then inside of that is a custard, and then they bake that bitch, and it has like a nice little crunch on the outside and then a gooey texture on the middle. The custard's a little sweet, so if you're more of a savory person, you maybe just grab your espresso and a croissant which they have fuck tons of.
Right.
But the pastel de nata is the thing over there. And then obviously the bifanias are huge. And then there's a sandwich called a francesca. The fucking Portuguese language is fucked. It's like so difficult. Everything I learned on Duolingo, I might as well just suck my own dick. My mouth was useless except for eating. I couldn't understand. I knew like basic like pleasantries, asking if they knew English, and even when I said that, I sounded like a buffoon. Duolingo I'm going to send them a hard written letter. I didn't say apple once, and that was like my first fucking week of class with them. It was terrible. But almost everyone speaks English, so it's not too bad of a translation. Like you're not lost a lot. The breakfast game is real strong, and it's fucking cheap. Coffee's $1, $1.50 if you go to a bougie spot with like, metal on the inside instead of just being a wood stop off on your walk. And the breakfast food is exceptional and cheap. A lot of the hotels have that shit for your people, the Brits. Beans, blood sausage, tomatoes. I mean, they are his people.
They're your people too. You probably descended from European.
No. Does this skin say that I'm
Yes,
European?
it does.
Aren't you part like Native American anyway?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Eve, for bringing that up. Shout out to Chief Dennis Bushyhead. He was one of the first assistants to the Secretary of the Senate. Shout out. What's up? But my grandfather will give you the whole rundown if you need it. But it's really, the food is unbelievably price appropriate because while it is very dependent on tourists across the country, Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve, the wine regions and things of that nature, the average Portuguese citizen makes around €1,500 a month. The bottom level income is about 750. So you have to have priced appropriate things, everything from beer, wine, and the basic delicious goods. So like Marcados are very cheap. Bottles of wine are on average €5 to €15. And like their Vinho Verde, which obviously everyone knows about the Portuguese green wine, the ones we get here are just kind of bullshit by comparison because those have a little more oomph to it. But at the same time, my acid reflux has never been worse. Like my voice is perfect for this. Shout out to European cigarettes. But oh my God, I mean, I was on fire. I was using those gel packs that taste and have the consistency of ejaculate just to stay alive. And the day I threw up,
Really coats the lining.
sure, that's what we'll say. What's it called, you weirdo? Don't be a pervert.
Says the guy who just said it.
Says the guy who says this.
How do you know how that tastes?
Come on, Eve.
You explored. You can just say it.
Yeah, everyone is at least.
Good for you.
I mean, what are we gonna? What's it called? So, anyways, before I got railroaded by Eve and her perverse mind.
Okay, so favorite. Let's cut it down here. Favorite town that you visited.
Okay, Porto is fucking awesome. Lisbon is awesome for two different but equally similar reasons. It's great for foot traffic, culture, just like you immerse yourself everywhere. No matter if you're in the tourist areas or if you kind of dip out, you can find cool views and a nice like sunny knoll where you can hang out with a bottle of wine, enjoy a sunset, or you can appreciate just sitting around. Both of those are really nice. So even in a big city, you can kind of find a way to escape. And then there's this place called Ariciera. It's kind of along the Silver Coast, north of Lisbon, north of Sintra. And it's more kind of in the surfing community.
Is that where Nazaré is?
Yeah, it's a little just south of that. Chris, it's this gorgeous little beach community that's just quaint as can be, and it's right around the Nat. So there's like people out there in the big wave season. I debated shredding some gnar, but I didn't.
Yeah, 60-foot waves, no doubt.
I mean, I've seen Johnny Tsunami. If you aren't versatile from slopes to the water, then what are we doing here? It's gnarly watching those folks do it. But that area is really cool. And again, like it's high season in the summer because people are coming down there to get their beach vibes when it's warm, and most of those old buildings don't have air conditioning. If the Americans are looking for just something to do, something that's cheaper than going to Disney World, it's taking your fucking family to Mexico to just get drunk in an all-inclusive resort, I cannot recommend checking out Portugal enough. There's a fuck ton of expats over there, not just obnoxious Americans chanting USA. Yeah, there was tons of those. But like everyone kind of like in the hospitality industries deal with a lot of British folks coming down for vacation, Scot and Irish folks coming down. And the English is kind of that natural middle ground. So everyone in the hospitality industry kind of speaks English. So you don't have to be intimidated by the Portuguese language and the menus and getting out of the airport. Like none of it feels foreign in that aspect. So 10 out of 10 would thoroughly recommend. Also, drugs are decriminalized, as is prostitution. So take that how you please. If you are looking for anything, all of it's available.
Tickle your pickle.
Literally, I think it's probably like, €4.
So you had a good time.
So that brings me to my last question: is what was the nightlife? Were there discos?
There are. So there's a bunch of discotecas. I don't know if you know this, but I'm not as old as you. I mean, look at you. You look like a grandfather. But thank you, Eve. So we stayed out a couple nights. We had a big time. Went to a couple clubs. One of the people that we were with was just looking for a good time, like trying to party. He's like, come on, let's keep going after supper and after a nightcap. And so we went out a couple nights. Both of the big cities are very, very vibrant until 2 a.m., even longer when I hit my wall. In the smaller towns, it's kind of like 10 to midnight. The food closes around 2 to 3, street meats, McDonald's, basic pizza spots.
Yeah.
And then they have, both in Lisbon and Porto, they have like a little bit touristy vibe areas where you can kind of feel a little bit of the New Orleans vibe, where you can grab a big beer and stand outside and everyone's just smoking cigarettes and drinking. I mean, it's fun.
Burning heaters.
Yeah, and I wasn't really trying to throw a bunch of lung darts, but you got to taste them. You know.
You do. They're different.
Yeah, and but I mean, I thoroughly recommend it. I had a blast. I think a lot of if you're a foodie looking for an adventure, we'll be posting them sporadically over the next couple weeks. I'm not going to try to burn everybody out by just doing a bunch of Portuguese bullshit and not talk about local stuff. So things like that.
Also, one final thing to hit that can segue into our next section is public transportation for going there. How is it? What's it like?
So first off, shout out to our friends over at Topo Designs and our friends from the United family. The Polaris Lounge is just the greatest experience ever. It makes for traveling easy when you can sleep horizontal. I had that luxury. I will tell you, it's easy getting in and out of the airports, but the high-speed rail system is just, it makes too much goddamn sense. It just makes too much fucking sense. Like we took it to and fro Lisbon, Porto, Faro, like we took it across the countrysides. Pretty country, pretty country. Fucking cheap. $60 gets you literally across the goddamn country. Juxtaposed with, you don't have to go through security lines and wait 2 hours for a hatch or a door that maybe doesn't shut. Like 11:34. Like be there at 11:31. Walk on, put your bag, and by the time you sit down, you're boot scooting and boogieing. 3 stops later, you're ready for a drink. You want to use the Wi-Fi. I mean, they've got it figured out.
Yeah.
Albeit they're about 3,000 years ahead of us. I mean, I think I drank wine that was older than our country. And one of our fucking tour guides even made a joke. He was like, this church, older than your country. And I was like,
Right.
thanks, Luis. Shout out to the team from Eat Porto and Caveman Wines. Had some fun with natural wines over there. It's just a great place to be. I can't recommend it enough. It seems like while the Portuguese residents are young, a lot of the expats coming over are brutally young, as they're old, a lot of the people coming in are young because it's a price-friendly, you can work remote and things of that nature. So there's a vibrant scene both at night and throughout the day. I had a blast, and it's a really gorgeous country.
It's crazy. I mean, all the architecture, everything over there is timeless. Like no matter how far in the future you are, it's all beautiful. And what I hate, we're gonna look back when we're older on all this modern fucking architecture that's being built around our cities and stuff, and it's gonna be outdated. It's gonna look stupid.
I couldn't agree more. The place
sucks.
The place was called Livraria Lello. And it's just, it's really cool. And you're exactly right. Like, they keep the character, even if there's a fucking McDonald's in the bottom of this 16th century building. I mean, Starbucks and McDonald's literally have, like, primo real estate that overlook, like, the fucking, the Douro River in Porto. And, like, McDonald's is just sitting there in the port of Lisbon. You're like, well, I mean, kudos to y'all for having that property. I'll take a French fry and a Coca-Cola. Every now and then, their French fries suck over there. Chris, you would love them.
Why do you think I eat shitty French fries?
Wait. How do you feel
we-
about In-N-Out fries?
I
or
haven't
no?
had In-N-Out fries.
Never?
Really?
No.
As someone who goes to California as often as you do, are
You probably love them.
He's gonna, yeah,
suck.
he's gonna love.
Oh my
them.
god, fuck.
Chris,
Go ahead,
they're
keep
so,
defending yourself. I interrupted.
yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
they're soggy, they're mid. They're
I
right up
don't
your-
like soggy fucking fries. I don't understand where this came from. I like certain fries to match the occasion. So when
that's
I
fine.
said I like steak fries sometimes, like the big ones, and you knock on those, with like fish and chips, those things are big because you can douse them in malt vinegar and they soak up all that vinegar and they're tasty. So I love steak fries and that. Crinkle cuts, if they're done well and seasoned well, they can be crunchy. They deserve their place.
Yeah, at the bottom of the fucking bowl. Chris, the fact that you have to really lobby hard for
I'm not
crinkles.
lobbying hard. I'm just
Be like,
making my
crinkles
case
are
that
like,
like
if you aim this small, there's this angle where crinkle cuts don't suck. And if you pair,
So what's the best fucking fry?
I mean, the McDonald's shoe.
Well, yeah, obviously.
That was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, but I mean,
A
like, what
waffle,
type
a
of
curly,
fry?
Hell, I mean, I'd even take the double cornstarch that went viral a couple weeks ago over the ones that you like. It's okay. We're allowed to have different opinions. I mean, even
No, I know.
shitty tacos. I mean, we all love different things. Yeah. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Rachel Maddow, but you do. That's fine.
Again, just making shit up.
All right, let's get this train back on the tracks. The only way that we would be able to do that is with our friends and sponsors over at Starbuds Cannabis. Y'all know March Madness is right around the corner, and Starbuds is with us to the end of the tourney. They're going to make sure you stay elevated just as the competition does in the bracket play. If you're looking, they've got you covered. 25 now locations across the Colorado region. You cannot go wrong. They've got all the edibles, carts, flower, concentrates that you could want. No matter if you're a casual or a connoisseur, check out our friends at Starbuds. All right, let's do restaurant reviews and get out of here. I saw somebody went viral while I was gone. If y'all want to look up the Avelina story, talk about a reverse Yelp blown up in your face. Under restaurants that closed, Avelina, the very mediocre restaurant downtown, probably friends with the Do Better Denver people, closed and blamed the liberal policies of Denver, as well as the lack of return of businesses like lawyers and others as to why he had to shutter, only to get a hard clap back from the community. I was reading along from afar.
It's like, no, your food's just not.
People were like, yeah, your food's shit. By the way, you suck balls and you associate with some pretty shitty folks in the community, so no one's really going to go to bat for you. I don't feel too bad about that. There are some restaurants that I do feel bad about closing. While I was gone, it was announced Sushi Rama was closing, or excuse me, Il Posto was closing. Our friend and guest of the podcast, Fritzy, his restaurant was a staple in Rhino for a long time. And while he will still be present, you can still see his smiling faces, his cigars and watches, and seeing him running around his Vespa. You can find him at Denver Central Market at Vera, serving up pretty damn good pies.
They're pretty good pies.
And he has the Tannemans Fish Market as well. Tannemans? I don't know, fucking Italian.
It's the fish market.
Yeah, the fish market in there. So if you want to support Fritzy as he closes the doors on Il Posto, go see him over at DCM. He's always smiling and working hard, and he's a great ambassador for the community and the hospitality industry, so we'll miss those. And also our buddy Jeff Osaka, guest of the pod. We've recorded with him and at his locations at Sushi Rama multiple times. We love Jeff. He's a hoot and a holler, but unfortunately they shuttered a few of the Sushi Rama locations with one still remaining. So our heart goes out to him. We hate to see good people's doors close and at least, not just take cheap pot shots at the community and the policy makers in town.
Boy, that episode with Jeff was way back in the day when we had the big soundboard and we were carrying around. That was a good one.
Oh, the good old days. Also, Three Saints Revival, the Tapas place. We weren't real big fans on it. I think we gave that similar review. But what's weird about that is oftentimes I feel like in other big cities, quality restaurants find themselves at the bottom of hotels and succeeding. Whereas here, The only one that sticks around is fucking Chez Maggie, and that place sucks. It's very odd. Like Apple Blossom closed and maybe is reopening, but nonetheless, the hotel restaurant vibe didn't really catch on there. And then Three Saints Revival, not necessarily the best restaurant in town with their tapas game and things of that nature, but we don't really seem to like warm up to it. I mean, the nickel is pretty solid at Titro for charcuterie and drinks before theater. But for the most part, you see a lot of turnover, even at Stout Street Station across from the convention center.
Yeah, and I think it's because probably a lot of hotel stays. Like, I wonder what the busy time of year here in Denver, because even like, let's say when the ski industry is booming and people are coming out here, they may stay like one night in a hotel here and then they're going. Like, I wouldn't want to enter a market in Denver if I were to open a restaurant. I wouldn't seek out like a hotel to do it in. I just don't think it works that well.
I mean,
in
Death
the
and
city.
Co is an outlier, I feel like, but
Well-
obviously, and The Edge over at Four Seasons, but their audience is a little different.
Yeah.
Whereas it just seems like
Some of
they
these-
don't stick as well. Those two seem to be a little bit more whatever, kind of like Toro, like Plain Jane, okay, in the Hillstone camp, but
Yeah.
like one-off restaurants in the bottom of hotels don't seem to thrive in Denver, and that's just kind of interesting. So, as restaurants close, obviously some doors open, and so while it's sad to see some go, there's a lot that we should be excited about. Our buddy Blaine from Adobo, they've won awards for Best Bartender. They've won them for Best Filipino Bites in years past, Food Truck years ago. And they do a lot of work over at like places like Meow Wolf. They launched Moonrise Food Truck Park right there in Wheat Ridge. Exciting venture. They're going to have the Chili Con Queso guys food truck over there as well as of one or two others. But I mean, Adobo does numbers, especially out of the food truck, because it's approachable and kind of how they blend a couple different vibes of food. And Chili Con Queso wins goddamn every food event ever. Like, they win every competition. So that's a great one to have there that'll draw the crowds. Excited for them. AJ's Barbecue opened up a new concept called AJ's Steakhouse. So the people that won the Michelin bib, the team over there, launched a project down in the Wash Park area that'll be a steakhouse. I'll give it a whirl. They have great cuts of meat, so I'd be excited to give the steakhouse a good run for it. Pray to God it's just slightly approachable. I think that's all I want in a steakhouse. Like, I know we're never
Yeah.
going to get one, but like, that's just my thought. I hope it's approachable because I mean AJ's is great in how that it's kind of like barbecue vibe
Right.
and like it's kind of tucked away. Like this is a little bit different vibe in the location, but like is it going to be a $99 tomahawk where 2/3 of the city can enjoy dining in your restaurant?
I
question.
understand the steaks costing what they do at steakhouses, but the sides when they blow them up to be just astronomical for like cream spinach, you're paying like $20. Like, let's just lower the sides a little bit.
There you go.
know?
I need a cream spinach to be under $10.
Yeah, because all it is cream and spinach. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah, but at the same time, we see a lot of these influencers these days are fucking complaining about the cost of goods and food, and our buddy fat guy in Denver had to put one in the place because as often as they get all these fucking free meals and then they want to go on here the one fucking time they pay for a fucking cheeseburger or a meal of their own, they're like, oh my God, this is what it costs nowadays for a cheeseburger? Be like, yeah, if you weren't just like your head shoved up every marketing firm's ass, you would understand what the cost of an average taco, an average burger, an average meal does cost. So, we understand that restaurants aren't fucking getting rich off one steak, but at the same time, like, shit, if I can go to Locavore and then cook that puppy at my house, I'm not going to get mad at it. There's also a new dumpling kitchen, shout out to that, on Colfax Ave. An omakase restaurant that's
I heard about that.
behind, it's underneath Bow Brew House. So it'll be kind of sharing, I think, the building. So as we're starting to see Larimer take form in its new vibes, this omakase, it looks sexy. Everybody and their mom was posting about it while I was out of town. So we'll have to go give it a whirl. I have it on my top 7 of worthies needing to try. Number 1 being Marigold up in Lyons. And that's my
Yeah.
own fucking fault. I may go up there one day this week and just eat.
I want to go.
I'm gonna try it.
One thing, like, I think I think that little area around Larimer could be the first start of like making downtown
Fun
a
again?
more, yeah, like you could really do a lot there.
There's some rumors swirling that the business owners that are currently down there and the ones that were down there or maybe are wanting to come in there don't like the developer and what's kind of going on in the process. That's just the rumblings I'm hearing, no specific names being said. But it's the same folks it's the people out of North Carolina. I think they had a hand in how Rhino was kind of curated and created. So I think they're trying to bring a little vigor and a little life to Larimer, make it not so stuffy, like having fucking Capitol Grill and Crew and Ted's Montana. And
Basic Betty's
Fucking
that- yeah.
Tamayo. It's like, it's just a row of mediocrity. And don't get me wrong, Capitol Grill doesn't suck by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just in that same camp of, you know, A5, and like, it's a steakhouse. Like, it's not going to draw.
A corporate America
Yeah, there's
gathering.
a lot of like blue hairs hanging
Yeah.
out down there, and it doesn't really draw the eye. So hopefully, you know, the Omakase experience and the new people coming in kind of give it that, you know, zest. But I'm sure somebody will shit on it or hate on the parade.
Speaking of new food spots, this isn't like new. It's a food truck and it's been going on for a couple of years now. But I wanted to give a shout out, like the last article, last Food Truck Friday, Vinny and Marie's Italian street food. If you're looking for a fucking like you just want a chicken parm sandwich.
Literally, someone asked me about a chicken parm sandwich 2 days ago on our social, and I threw it into the deli. What's the name of the truck?
Vinny and Marie's.
Holy shit! What are the odds of that?
And I'm just saying, like, it was a really satisfying chicken cutlet served on a ciabatta bread with the melted Parmesan and Maz. Like, it was great. And they also, this guy, Jimmy, he's from Pueblo. And, like, his large Italian family, they were kind of the starters of the Moscow
What is
chili.
it? Okay.
And so he has a sandwich called the Moscow, and it's got like Italian sausage that's been flattened, so it kind of crisp up on the edges. And then he's got a lot of Moscow chilies, which are kind of like the green chilies.
Yeah.
It's a different type of them on there, so it's got a little bit of kick. I highly recommend, if you're craving a sandwich, search out this food truck and find it. Like, he's a great guy.
That's what this podcast is here for, putting people on dank food around our community and around the world.
Because it's hard to find a good chicken parm in this city, I feel like.
I mean, I'll lean on y'all on that one. I don't know of like a quality. Like I was saying, someone asked me, and I instantly thought of, shit, go to one of the Italian delis, Valenti's, Carmine Leonardo's. You know,
Yeah.
Lou's probably would be the one I would recommend. So I love hearing about a new one, and maybe, you know, new but old, you know,
Yeah.
vibes and local, sport and local. I think that wraps it up. You know, we're talking food things. We're going to have guests coming up for the next couple weeks. Members from our March Madness committee will be joining us to talk about the 64 to 70-ish restaurants that will be competing for the March Madness. We'll probably start with someone like Jeremy Harlan, from our buddy from CNN, talking about his favorite eats. You know, he's a Southern boy, so and by Southern I mean he lives in Lone Tree, so he knows the
He's
Southern.
big on BBQ.
Oh yeah, he knows his way around a barbecue platter and knows the best around Colorado. But he travels the country working in exactly that space, so he can measure up what restaurants can hold. You know, and we got to talk about that too. Denver's Michelin bib scene is 100% comparable to that in another country's big city like Lisbon or Porto. We can compete with those folks. So like when I asked you about that, like how does it stack up against the New Yorks or the LAs or Chicagos? I can tell you right now we can stack up with the best of at least Portugal. Like they're good, but so are ours. Like I thought that instantly. We had a 1 or 2 like bib spots that I was like, oh, we've got this. You know, like,
Right.
we can make this, and our chefs do make this and better. So, but at the same time, Jeremy's gonna be our first guest. We'll talk about a lot of that, and we'll have a bunch of guests. Some have already been guests on the podcast, but we'll have some new faces joining us on the podcast to talk about the March Madness bracket. A week from today, we release the 64. Eve.
Is your heart beating out of your chest?
I know
It
you're
would
ge-
if I knew what was going on.
Okay, so this is what's going to happen. 70 restaurants will be split off into 1 versus 1, and they'll all be in a big bracket. And if you win, you advance, like Mortal Kombat, except nobody dies. What actually happens is we'll have the community vote on our Instagram which restaurant they prefer. We'll tag both restaurants, and so they can go out and campaign for themselves to their community and things of that nature. They can ask their friends in larger places like New York. Shout out to Caroline Glover, who won it 2 years ago
Gotta go
with a
deep.
late push, with maybe some help from some big name chefs and things of that nature. But what it's meant to do is drive awareness to some local restaurants here in town. And so every day we will have matchups of two restaurants pitted against one another, and the community will vote on their favorite. And folks that work in those restaurants and folks that love those restaurants will campaign actively for those restaurants on their platforms. So then folks will come on our page and vote for their favorite restaurant. We're going to do that 65 times over 31 days until a winner is crowned. And I was going to get a 4-foot trophy, but I think we got to get a wrestling belt.
I think so too. It's more portable, and
Yeah,
you can
'cause-
still hang it up and showcase
Yeah,
it.
because Penelope and the team, we gave them a big fucking trophy.
They had to
and
tear it
They had to
down.
cut it in half so that they could showcase it. They're like, it was too fucking big. So this time we're gonna get a belt that has like our insignia in the middle, and then have like.
It's got to be dazzled.
It's gonna look like my jeans, Chris. They're gonna be bedazzled to hell. But Eve, so every day different restaurants from around the community will be up in the gauntlet.
And
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the whole purpose behind it is just community involvement and supporters supporting their favorites. But people are going to get upset because there might be omissions, or they might
they're
think
gonna get
like
pissed.
some people should have won. And it's not about that. It's about fun. It's about invoking your fan base to support you, and whoever does it the best fucking wins.
Yeah, last year, shout out to Chef Penelope, Chef Knockers, Rob, and now Chef Caroline on the fam as well. A food truck won. The year before that, Annette won just before they won the beard. So realistically,
It's a launch pad.
It is quite a launch pad, but what it really is a way to showcase local restaurants and let folks go actively campaign for their favorites. So it's one of my favorite times of year. Also, we get to gamble our absolute bollocks off watching basketball Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 3 weeks in a row, which is a nice bonus.
God, if only we could start an underground gambling ring on our March Madness.
Oh, I like where your head's at. Well, on Thursday, we've got another doozy of an episode, and then next week, the action begins. Thanks, everybody. Sorry for the layover or the delay in getting episodes out. Eve, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I missed you.
Thanks.
Well, anyway, until Thursday, I hope everyone has a great week. Stay high, stay hungry.
Tiger prawns.
March Madness. It's coming for you.
Cheers!
Ooh, nice.
I love it. She's in it.
Yes.
She's all in. I love it.